Happy New Year. Welcome to the Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom for the final time. Predictions for the Vikings game.
What's happening? Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Who needs a hug more right now? Georgia football fans or the guy who bought his Vikes Packers tickets back in June?
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with Wide Left Football. Last week, I said that Luke Braun was the perfect HTB candidate. This week, he's not here. Draw your own conclusions.
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings, every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad Show starts now.
What's up? Welcome in Viking Squad Show special Friday edition, day after New Year's Day. You met Luke Inman, you met Arif Hasan, and I'm Sam Ekstrom. We are streaming live on the Locked On Vikings YouTube channel. Audio goes up on demand, free and available. The Locked On Vikings podcast feed, all part of the #1 sports podcast network. That is the Locked On Podcast Network. On today's show, predictions for Vikings, Packers, storylines, angles, Clayton Tune, Max Brosmer, JJ McCarthy. We don't know who's going to play, who's excited for Week 18 and Vikings-Packers football. That we'll have to figure out the last time a Vikings-Packers game had this little at stake. Could be the final game for CJ Ham. Could be the final game for Harrison Smith. We dive into all of that, and we make our Week 18 bets with a lot at stake there on today's show that is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to get in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. Happy New Year, Arif. How are you doing?
Happy New Year. Terrible, as always. That's pretty normal for me.
On brand.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Luke Inman.
How are you?
Dapper,
How's the New Year treating
great.
you?
Yeah. Resolution is to be chipper and cheery on this show, Mr. Positivity.
That's terrible. That's an awful resolution, Sam.
My resolution is to not ask Ron Johnson a follow-up question on our Thursday shows.
We'll test that in about 15 minutes. We'll test it in 15 minutes. See how that goes. Vikings Packers on Sunday at noon. Arif Hasan's already mad at me. It's looking like Tune against McCarthy, and the Vikings are favored by 7.5. Like what will become of Clayton Tune in this game? I think we're all worried about Clayton Tune's well-being. This has to be like emergency staff on site for Clayton Tune. If the Vikings defense can muster the same type of energy for this game that they did on Christmas, and maybe they won't. Maybe they will relax because it's Clayton Tune, but I'm a little bit worried for Clayton Tune in like an emotional sense, a physical sense, just like holistically, I'm worried about Clayton Tune's health in this game. Anyone with me?
No, I think that's pretty fair. He's going to be put in a blender if Brian Flores spends like 10 minutes on a game plan, which I assume he will be doing. So it's not going to look good. And just like given how hard the Vikings played last week when they had nothing to play for, I'm expecting the Vikings, the players and the coaches, to take this game as seriously as possible, despite the fact that you can't play spoiler for the Packers. They are locked into the 7th seed no matter what happens because of that tie. And obviously, the Vikings can't meaningfully do anything for themselves aside from improve the draft position, which players don't care about. So yeah, I think that they're gonna send the house against Clayton Tune. I think, when we take a look at like the history of what like Flores and Zimmer defenses do against rookies, we see an elevated blitz rate. What does an elevated blitz rate look for the most blitz happy team in the league? It's gonna be like a 70, maybe 80% blitz rate. It's gonna be crazy, and they're all gonna come from different spots. They're with Elton Jenkins out. He's been out for a while. They won't have a center that has the ability to really call. I think it's Sean Ryan or something like that. They won't have a center that has the ability to call protections to any reasonable degree. It's gonna be a disaster. I love that.
Yeah, not too much to add there, but also I'm just thinking about Brian Flores, potentially thinking about, we've talked a lot this week as far as maybe he potentially auditioning or interviewing for some head coaching job. This is his last kind of audition to put on tape here. And like Arif said, I'm expecting him to get into his bag, so to speak, more than he already has this 2025 season. Put him in a blender, make life very difficult. He's not going to have his full slate of weapons, as Arif pointed out. A lot of offensive line is going to be questionable going into that game. Game time decision. Josh Jacobs might not start. So it's going to be tough going for him for sure. And I also think, too, if you ask Packers fans, and I only watched maybe 15, 20 minutes. I was watching the Timberwolves get blasted by the New Jersey Nets Saturday night, but it looked like
Jersey
Packers,
Nets.
Well, depending on who you ask. Depending on who
Living
you
in the
ask.
past.
It felt like Packers fans saw a lot of quit, I think, in that Ravens game. And they went all out against the Bears the week prior, but last week some quit. And when you look at what the Vikings did coming off that Christmas game, as you kind of mentioned, whether it's just playing for a guy like Harrison Smith or not, they seem very bought in despite the fact that they aren't playing for a playoff position. So momentum has kind of shifted opposite when you look at kind of the Packers coming off last week versus the Ravens on Saturday night and what the Vikings did to the Lions, who, again, Lions needed to win it in. And to go out there and put that on display, I feel like just feels like two teams, even though one's going into the playoffs and one's not, two teams kind of headed in different trajectories as far as just momentum and just kind of playing with some passion and some fire in between the sidelines.
Yeah. This has kind of been the year of the anti-tank in the NFL. When you look at Miami, you look at New Orleans, you look at Atlanta and Minnesota, all teams that I think could have gone in the toilet, and they decided to find a little something here in December. Let me ask the $1 million question. We don't even know if Malik Willis is healthy for this game or if he's available for this game, but Malik Willis, is he going to Matt Flynn somebody? Is he going to get paid based on the Week 17 performance, maybe by the Vikings? I don't know. But is Malik Willis the next, intriguing quarterback who's got a very limited sample size but will sign somewhere and become a starter next year? That a lot of people were saying, man, Malik Willis on the Vikings looks good.
I think the Steelers are going to sign Malik Willis for $17 to $20 million a year. Not break the bank type money, but more than you would have expected given his career trajectory. Kind of like bridge quarterback money, but for a guy who they expect to start. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. It's multiple called shots on this one thing.
Also, too, I mean, we talk about it a lot, the landscape of quality quarterbacks in the NFL. Is there even 32 quality starting quarterbacks in the NFL? No. So when you get there never is. No, but if you get some flashes of a guy who never really had, I mean, you can go back to the Tennessee days a little bit, obviously a terrible surrounding cast there as a rookie and then going into his second year. But when you look at a guy that has shown some potential and flashes and a little bit higher ceiling than I think we ever anticipated, in just kind of these spot starts here or there, certainly I totally agree. Somebody's going to not break the bank, but pay him a lot more money than I think anybody ever thought coming into the season.
Yeah, with the Packers, and so now with Tennessee, but started 2 games in 2024, won them both. No interceptions in those games. Pretty active running the football. 6 carries for 41, 6 carries for 73. And then, of course, last Saturday, 9 carries for 60, 2 touchdowns, 18 of 21. It's a box score perfect game just about from Malik Willis that's going to pique somebody's interest in a very, very big way.
Have you ever seen like a chart that includes all the quarterbacks with Malik Willis on it, like an EPA per dropback and success rate? He is in a stratosphere of his own, right? Like he is in his own little world. You've got I've got like a tiny little box to try and demonstrate on YouTube, but like you've got everybody here and you got Malik Willis all the way up here. I hope that helps this little visual, but there's no one in between. It is insane. He has twice as many EPA per dropback on the positive side than the next highest guy. Obviously it's like
2025. Is this like
just 2025?
Yeah.
Minimum 50 dropbacks, right? So he's had 58 dropbacks, right? Because he's had one game as a starter and then a couple of games where he's just like in it, right? And that level of production is pretty outstanding, and I don't think anyone trusts that that's going to continue, or even that he's necessarily going to be good. But that's enough there to intrigue a team that is not in a position to draft a quarterback this year. And I don't think we're going to get a ton of interesting quarterbacks on in the free agency market. Like
Uh-oh. We lost him.
Lost them. To his point there, too, I don't know how many big names are going to be in the free agency pool. There usually isn't a ton anyways. I mean, trying to think back to the last big prize quarterback free agent that we had, say, was it Kirk Cousins even going way back when? I mean, it just doesn't happen a lot, but also just kind of dipping my toes a little bit into the 2026 NFL draft pool as well. Not a ton of great quarterback class either. I think 2027 is going to be the big quarterback class with Archie Manning and some other guys. But you got the big two guys at the top. And then outside of that, yeah, when you're thinking about a team like the Steelers, right? Usually around 500, you're drafting in that 17 to 22 window. Just not a lot of great options in this quarterback class either. So Malik Willis, again, just knowing how thirsty the league is for just competent quarterback play. Yeah, what a big surprise. What a kind of, even though it's the Packers, right? What a kind of cool storyline, though, as well.
Yeah, I think you and I were all the way in on Malik Willis. I think we liked him going into that 2022 draft. Looked bad
not
for a
quite
little bit.
Hendon Hooker, but
Not
yeah,
Hooker
we
level.
were on Malik Willis. Yeah, we certainly were, and finally we've been proven right.
Yeah, well, if Arif's, and he usually is right, $17 million, that would make him, that's beyond highly paid backup. That's like you are competing for a starting job 50-50.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people are begging for.
Well, what
right?
Daniel Jones
for
get
the Vikings.
in Indy? Sorry to interrupt.
Daniel Jones got, I think it was about 14-15. And that was probably the highest end backup type quarterback competing for a job.
Cap's going to go up a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, about the same. The same. So if it's Minnesota, and this is the biggest offseason priority, I think most would say, is solidifying the quarterback position, either bringing someone in that usurps McCarthy or competes with McCarthy or ensures that when or if McCarthy goes down, you have someone in the building. Malik Willis does make sense. While he is wildly different from a skill set standpoint, I don't think that should matter. I still think I would take that athlete. I would take that flash in a pan as your backup quarterback any day of the week. I know it's costly, but that feels like the type of move that would really move the needle and raise the floor, the Vikings quarterback room. Inman, you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Undoubtedly, for sure. Again, after kind of the disappointment, the collapse of everything that happened in the quarterback room this year, having to watch, Max Bros, we're having to have real conversations going into a game about John Wolford going to be the guy this week. Like, no doubt, you got to feel better about your quarterback room and kind of the floor of that quarterback room, even with JJ McCarthy kind of ending these last couple games, hopefully on a high note, which we'll get into. But yeah, certainly Malik Willis, again, knowing the limited options that are probably going to be out there, as Arif kind of mentioned and touched on, and knowing the limited options also in the draft as well, Malik Willis would definitely not only raise your confidence, help you sleep a little bit easier at night, but raise the floor of that quarterback room as well for KOC.
Yeah, we got Macho Meach in the chat saying he'd rather see John Wolford than Max Brosmer. I guess I don't really care about that distinction. I just want to see JJ McCarthy, and it looks like we will. Full participant yesterday. A chance for JJ to put one final good performance on tape. And
has
for those
anyone asked about McCarthy's potential participation after having seen the practice report that he was a full participant, or are we still waiting on some coach to confirm?
The schedule would usually not have O'Connell on Thursday. That would be today, Friday. So I would guess we'll have some solidified information
Friday
today.
Availability. Yeah.
On yeah, of course. I think if it was between Brosmer and Wolford, I would just throw my hands up and say, give them each a half preseason mode.
I think it would still be Brosmer. This is a coaching staff that really sticks with quarterbacks despite their level of performance until it becomes, impossible, which it is fair to say we're pretty close to that with Brosmer. But I just think that, Joshua Dobbs got way more of a leash than I think a lot of us expected. I think J.J. McCarthy did. To O'Connell's credit, J.J. McCarthy got more of a leash than we expected, which is why I never believed kind of the soft benching stuff, right? So, I think it'll be Brosmer if it is that situation where you don't have McCarthy out there. I don't know. John Wolford is really interesting. Obviously, love my AAF guys, love my UFL, USFL guys. John Wolford, Arizona hotshot for life, right? But I have an Arizona Hotshot like starter jacket because the
Of
AAF
course you do.
had a partnership with Starter, and I was like, oh my god, this is. I also have an Orlando Apollos one. I'm
Okay,
not
that's
as
dope.
loyal,
Okay.
but yeah, it is. But yeah, despite how much I love John Wolford and all of these like spring league quarterbacks, Case Cook is for life, obviously. Um, I think that they would probably go with Brosmer to the objection to a fan base that, for whatever reason, wants to see a Vikings win. Which, according to Bancho Meach, is because he bet the 8.5 over.
What a
which is fair.
ride!
What a
ride for the
baby.
eight
That
and
must
a
have been
half bettors.
crazy. Yeah.
I'm still trying to
Incredible.
like wrap my head around the fact that if the Cowboys wouldn't have tied that Packer game way back, what was that, week 2, week 3, week 4, way back when, that the Vikings would still be in play for this 7th seed. I don't think we've talked about that enough, actually.
And Ron, take it a step further, Ron brought this up Tuesday, and then I saw Ben Gessling tweet the same thing, probably watching the show. If the Vikings hang on against the Bears, think about the impact there. Vikings go to 9 wins, Bears down to 10 wins. Vikings have the tiebreaker over the Bears. You got the NFC North on the line this Sunday.
That is
Gnarly.
gnarly.
That's
Yeah,
nuts,
wow.
dude. That's nuts.
Specific Week 18 predictions coming up next, including the fate of Justin Jefferson's 1,000-yard pursuit. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. Fridays, and that's today, they feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night. Before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. That's your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. It is from 5 to 6:30 Central Time. It's appointment viewing, NBA Happy Hour. Open the FanDuel app. During happy hour, it always brings something new. It's boosts, it's bonuses, it's surprises. It's easy to check. You can make your bets before the games tip off. Timing's perfect. Work week's done. Adds a little energy to your Friday night. So before tip off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday. Again, that's 5 to 6:30 Central. A little basketball, a little action, whole lot of Friday energy. NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, let's get into some bold predictions. And even though he's not here today, make sure you're checking out Luke Braun on Locked On Vikings. He'll have some bold predictions for you as well. So I'm going to kick it off with the Justin Jefferson pursuit. I am actually wildly intrigued to see, and I hope it comes down to the fourth quarter. I hope it doesn't get accomplished so quickly that it eliminates some of the pettiness that could occur. Because think about this. What if the Vikings are leading by a good margin? Like, what if it's late? Are they going to throw on the Packers? Are they going to throw on the Packers against double teams and force feed it to Justin Jefferson? What if they're up by 3 and in no way should pass, but need to throw to get in the, like, do you see the potential possibilities here for drama in the fourth quarter? That's what I'm quite looking forward to. And I predict that it will be a fourth quarter completion that gets him across the line. We got Ron Johnson jumping in here. He can join us in a minute in our prediction segment. Arif Hasan, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that Jefferson has a contract incentive that triggers over 1,000 yards. A lot of receivers do, right? So probably one at 1,000, one at 1,200, maybe even one at 1,400.
And he needs to hit that bonus. He's got to hit
obviously,
that.
right? I think, and it is teams can honor bonuses if you don't hit them, right? That is possible for the Vikings to just do it, which I think in the case where he doesn't, they should. But I think that they just want to do it organically. So I think no matter what, they're going to try and find ways to get Jefferson those. So I think they're going to force feed him the ball. I think we're going to see a lot of screens, a lot of those mid screens that we saw that led to those like 3rd and long conversions. 2 games ago. So I think we are going to see that kind of stuff. I don't even think it'll take until the fourth quarter.
Arif's internet is performing about as well as Max Brosmer.
I've been thinking about the young guys a lot. Week 18 always audition tape for the young guys. Go put your starter jacket on. Maybe that'll help over there.
I think he said that they're going to do 10 straight pop passes to Justin Jefferson to get him the yardage. That's what Arif said.
I was just going to real quick mention that,
I said
this last
targets.
week. 10 targets, fair enough. This last week, always a little bit of an audition for some of the young guns, depending on where you're at with playoff position and all that. But, Aaron Jones most likely not going to play DNP Wednesday and Thursday. Jordan Mason most likely getting a lot of run. But I'm thinking about a guy like Xavier Scott, who's already flashed a little bit, scored overseas. Remember that Pittsburgh game? Knowing Ty Chandler's probably going to be gone next year as well. He's a free agent. I'm thinking about Xavier Scott punching in a touchdown again and just kind of ending what's already been a pretty positive season for him on a high note, and then going into 2026 as that clear-cut kind of RB3.
Yeah, let's get Ron in. Ron can join us in the predictions. He's at 3 Ron Johnson. Ron, we're talking predictions for Sunday, Vikings-Packers. It's looking like Clayton Tune against J.J. McCarthy. Opportunity, perhaps, to hang some points on Green Bay, a Green Bay team that's probably benching dudes, and Green Bay offense that probably won't move the ball a lot. We've got some Commanders game vibes. I'm not saying the Vikings are going to win 31-0, but I think that there's that type of performance on the table where Green Bay just doesn't care about the outcome. How do you think it plays out Sunday from an individual performance standpoint? Who do you like?
From an individual performance, I like Harrison Smith. I do like the Vikings in that. I just feel like, if this is potentially his last game as a Minnesota Viking, I think Brian Flores, not only Brian Flores, but the Wilfs, KOC, his team, everybody wants him to go out on shoulders. You want that to be the last memory of Harrison Smith. You don't want it to be a 24-21 Packers win and the Packers rush for, 200 yards. They throw for 150 yards. You don't want that. So I can really see Brian Flores, putting a lot of pressure on mixed looks. Again, you have nothing to lose by doing this, right? So a lot of mixed looks at the line of scrimmage, a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage, a lot of dropping random people. So dropping a D tackle, blitzing a corner and a safety, just to really make this quarterback say, I have no idea what I'm looking at right now. So from an individual standpoint, but overall, I'm looking at the defense for the Vikings. I think regardless if it's Max Brosmer or McCarthy, I think it's going to come down to the defense for the Vikings, because if it is Tune, or if it's Love, honestly, I don't think I care. I just think the Vikings defense the last 4 weeks has played well, because, we keep talking about this 4-0 stuff. Their offense has not played well overall in those 4 weeks. It's been the defense in those 4 weeks, and that's what I think a lot of people want to see is what can Brian Flores dial up, because when you look at number of plays, 280, this is in the last 4 games, yards gained per play, 3.6 total, per play over a stretch of 300 plus plays. That's what you think about Brian Flores is just absolute dominance the last 4 weeks. That's what I want to see is how does this defense finish the season out?
Yeah, the no touchdown scored by the Commanders. Cowboys got a couple. One of those was a very short field, though. Giants didn't score a touchdown, only on defense. And the Lions needed a 20-play drive and have to make it on 4th down just to score one. Really impressive stretch. Does that
three
stretch
touchdowns is nuts in 4 weeks? 3 touchdowns, and it's not coming with a ton of turnovers. It's only 5 interceptions and 10 turnovers, but 5 interceptions,
all in one
5
game.
Fumbles.
They all came in one game. Yeah.
And, you look at 17 sacks. You look at the punts. They've only faced 9 punts as a defense. So again, it's just been take the ball away and then let's matriculate down the field. Let's give up. If we give up a field goal, who cares? But even that, they haven't given up a field goal in 4 weeks. That is just absolutely bonkers.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's
and
crazy.
Sam, to your point too, that
Actually, no,
Lions-
sorry, I took field goal out of that. This one doesn't. This list that they sent me doesn't have field goals on it, so they
Got
are
it.
Okay, I was like, that can't be right.
We
So
removed
we
the
still
field
don't know
goals
for sure, though.
We don't.
It's
Yeah,
not on
so
the list.
yeah, it's on this other list. I can scroll down. The Vikings
the
have
Lions
some
had
stuff
one.
and other people. Yeah, there's some field goals in there because the reason why we remove field goals for people at home wondering is because it gives you a false number if they kicked on 3rd down. Then it makes their 3rd down look like they gave up points on 3rd down, and that, in my opinion, I don't count that towards the defense. But the Minnesota Vikings have, let's see, 3 touchdowns, 7 field goals. So they've given up 7 field goals in that stretch, which is good. They forced them to kick the ball. They've been, but don't break. And so this has been a 4-week stretch of the Vikings need to start all over again. Brian Flores needs a statue in front of the stadium.
I was just going to point out too as well, Sam, you mentioned that Lions took them 20 play drive, 8 minutes, fourth down conversion. That was like a circus catch too, by the way, just a YOLO jump
Yeah.
ball circus catch by Isaac Tesla. Ron, I always think about the young guys during, week 18, something like this, where playoff implications not in play at this point. I mentioned a guy like Xavier Scott. I'm interested to see if he gets a little bit more run. Give me one young guy, like a Jay Ward, so to speak, one young guy that you're kind of hoping gets a little bit more run and can kind of build a little bit of momentum into 2026.
I guess I don't know if Jalen Naylor counts as a young guy, but I do want to see more from Jalen Naylor. Like I want to see what his output looks like. Donovan Jackson, it's super boring to say Donovan Jackson, but I do want to see like what can he do this game to really like show us like, okay, he has Quentin Nelson potential down the stretch. He has the ability to be a really good guard, but I'd say I'm looking at both receivers, Ty Felton and Jalen Naylor, because I don't know if Ty Felton's going to get any run. But I know he's come in at times when either somebody's been hurt or somebody's gone out. So just realizing if he's an option for next year, is he the true fourth receiver on this team?
I'm looking at the Jalen Naylor stats. I haven't done this in a while. He's going to have about the exact same season as last year, maybe a little worse in some categories, a little better in some categories. Really,
which is kind of crazy knowing how bad the offense has been, though. How bad the quarterback has been.
My eye test is Jalen Naylor's had his best season. And maybe it's because there's been a little less volume. Like last year, he had a longer stretch, I think, of playing more and didn't do as much.
He also had more drops last year, and perceptively that affects our understanding of him, right? So
it feels like this year I can think of 5 Jalen Naylor plays that were like, wow, right? Like the long catch and run against Baltimore, a couple of big fourth down catches, the game clincher against Detroit in Detroit. He's had some real moments that popped this season without a lot of the negatives. So I feel like this is still his best season. It's going to be about 400 yards, which doesn't fly off the page. But, I mean, Ron, we've talked about this on other shows before. If you can find a way to swing it, would love him back as a wide receiver 3. Very much a luxury, though. Very tough to sign a good wide receiver 3 when you already have 2 elite talents like that.
Right. And again, I go with the KJ Osborne theory. Like, is it better to leave for a little bit, more money and potentially you be wide receiver 2 or 1 and it never really work out, or stay in an offense that can work and maybe ride out this Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson saga of, I don't know if Addison is going to be a long-term option to keep with his like want for the ball, with his dad's tweeting to get my son the ball and all this stuff. Like it's a new age of air. Could you imagine if like Jake Reed's family, when Randy Moss got drafted, the Vikings had Twitter, like, you go from 1,000-yard receiver to all of a sudden, like, wait, you're the third fiddle on this team. And, we had Jake Reed on the show, and that was one of the best quotes when he said, I was at home hurt, and I had to watch that Thanksgiving game, and I looked at my wife and said, yeah, okay, this is his show now. Like, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. So I just wonder, like, when you think about Twitter back then, could you imagine what Jake Reed and his family would be tweeting, about if he's not getting the ball all of a sudden, and Randy Moss and Chris Carter are kind of the focal points of the offense? I think that's where we are with Addison. Like, is he going to be happy as the number 2 guy when there's not a ton of balls? Honestly, I think the odd man out is going to end up being TJ Hawkinson. I don't see with that production and that dollar value that makes sense anymore. Like, I just don't see it when there's so many great young tight ends in this draft that, we haven't talked much about them potentially just moving on like the Dallas Cowboys did from Trayvon Diggs, and maybe looking at, like, not saying injury settlement, but some type of like, hey, man, you're not really 100%. It's not really working out the way we thought it was going to work out, and this dollar value is really too high for a tight end that's not giving us touchdowns in the red zone, big catches on third down. Like, he's not doing the Kelsey, Kittle, Laporta bit. Like, he's not. And so I think you have to figure out, is that value worth it at this point?
Arif?
Yeah, I was wondering, we talked obviously just now about how great the Brian Flores defense has been over the past several weeks. And I think that that's given us kind of a lot of hope about how good that defense can continue to be after having been good for essentially 3 consecutive years. But you take a look at the roster, Harrison Smith, like you mentioned, is probably gone. They're probably going to have to replace Theo Jackson, maybe. I don't know. They might have to replace 1 or 2 cornerbacks. They might have to replace Eric Wilson. They're probably replacing the 2 defensive tackles they just signed in free agency, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of turnover probably on this defense. How are they going to be able to maintain that level of defensive performance as they bring in a bunch of new guys? Probably.
So I mean, it's Brian Flores. Like I think it's the pieces of the puzzle that matter more so than like how they're going to do it. That's the key. Is can you bring him in? Can you retain him first? You know, can you keep him there? And then if you're bringing in all these new guys, where did they do for their current team? So like we know you can't go get a Daniil Hunter. Like he doesn't work in the 3-4 scheme. You can't go get. I'm drawing a blank on some DBs, but I'm just trying to think of some DBs where I'm like, you can't just go get these guys and say, okay, I'm going to plug this guy in. I don't know if you guys watch Miami, Ohio State, but their safety is really good. And I bought that up with Sam.
Caleb
and
Downs?
Sam, no, Miami.
Sorry.
You're talking about Ohio State. Oh, no, Ohio State's, I don't think his safety will be there. Caleb Downs was on my list, but me and Sam talked about a couple potential safeties and Sam, you know, we did this exercise right yesterday. I think it was yesterday, or was it with
a couple days ago,
Reggie and whatever. But
yeah,
you know, I talked about Keontae Scott with Miami. I talked about Caleb Downs with Ohio State, and then I talked about Bray Hubbard with Alabama. And then when you look at, you know, and Dylan Thyman, for those wondering, like he played against the Gophers. I think he's a good athlete. I don't think he's a true safety. I think he's more of like a Swiss Army knife type of player. You know, I don't know where he would fit. I don't think he fits. I think he is a Josh Metellus, so you don't need another one of those. But we got a chance to see Keontae Scott show the world what he can do, like robbing screens, making tackles. He kind of joked about the Jim Thorpe Award, you know, like all that stuff. Like that's kind of a guy that I feel like Brian Flores, if he were to draft him, and he's gonna be there when the Vikings pick. You know, they have him rated right now as a top 43 player, top 50 player. That's an easy opportunity to just find Harrison Smith's replacement, but also say, Harrison, just wait for 1 more year. Help us with this kid. So I think when you're talking about plugging guys in,
1 more
year, just train one of these guys.
I'm not being greedy. One more.
But when you think about that, that's where I say it's Brian Flores' defense. I think when you come up with these schemes, I always go back to the Theo Jackson interview me and Sam did at the beginning of the year. He said, when I looked at my iPad at times, I was like, how in the hell are we going to do this? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand why I'm lining up here to cover here. But then he said, as Brian Flores would explain it, they had to get trust in the process, trust in what he's trying to tell you. Don't think about conventional football when you see what I just drew up. Just do it. And that's when you're seeing stuff like, oh, okay, this works. So, like, you know, I think everybody's seeing this now at this point. Harrison Smith is looking like he's going to play in the box, and then Theo Jackson kind of comes and stands literally right behind him. And he looks back. He's like, no, you got to be over there a little bit more. Like he's telling him you're giving it away. What they were doing was Harrison Smith knew I'm going to go if I see this look, and Theo, you have to be behind me to cover, but you can't line up behind me. You have to line up over here to get over. But, you know, like, so it's little stuff like that where guys like, okay, I know he's blitzing. I'm just line up here because I got to back up. No, don't give it away. And so I think that's the little things that Brian Flores draws up, and he sits back at night and says, how can I confuse a quarterback to make it look different? You know, the Seattle Seahawks did it to Max Brosmer. You know, that's what they did. They're like, look, let's make them think a single high, and it's really just, you know, we're still playing half safety with only 1 safety. So it's not half safety, but it is, you know, like the principle of half safety, it works, but it's not half safety. It's single high to a quarterback's eyes, but it's really just half safety. So, again, it's all those little things like that Flores, I think you can plug in guys. But, I mean, they're going to scout. Like, Chisholm Oprah was my teammate. You know, he's one of the head scouts. Looking at how they go out and find guys on teams, you know, college scout, pro scout. They're scouting other pro teams, too, to see, like, who could fit in our system as a cheaper free agent. So, long answer, but I think at the end of the day, it's if they have to retain Brian Flores. I truly believe in this 3-4 system he has now. It's just getting the guys in.
Yeah, obviously, if Flores stays, I think that there's a chance that Harrison Smith stays too, but he could be gone. Also, big article in the Star Tribune, C.J. Ham contemplating retirement. He could be gone. So, trivia question to close. Who is the longest tenured Viking if Ham and Smith both retire?
The longest tenured Viking if Ham and Smith retire.
DePaula?
I mean, in terms of age, I think is he already the oldest, but not the longest tenured.
Longest tenured Viking.
Okay,
Is it Justin Jefferson?
Older than
Metellus
that.
is a good one.
Someone's
or
been around
Brandel?
longer.
I think it was the same class though. Metellus and Brandel.
O'Neal?
Yes.
Oh, O'Neal.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
O'Neal.
one. Yeah, there you go.
Ryan O'Neal.
He doesn't
Clean
feel
Mike
old
Hughes
though.
draft.
He doesn't really look
Yeah.
old. Like I don't feel like he's old when you say it that way, but he is. He's been here for a while.
I think that's kind of the point. Like that's where after Harry and CJ Ham kind of falls
Yeah,
off a cliff.
we're
there
finally
pretty quick.
turning over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last guy to have played in the Metrodome. Think about that for the Vikings.
Oh
Harrison
my
Smith.
God. Why did you say it like that? I feel so old.
That was the point. Ron Johnson will be with us for our post-game show on Sunday after Vikings Packers. Luke Inman will host that, and you can check out, all the Ron Johnson shows on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thanks a lot, Ron. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Have a happy New Year.
You too.
At 3, Ron Johnson. When we return, we will dive into the CJ Ham career, 10 years as a Viking, and his potential retirement coming up next on the Squad Show. Brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opportunity, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. This only dawned on me this week that CJ Ham is in an expiring contract, and then the Star Tribune writes the story. He's got 30 family and friends coming to the stadium. He's gonna soak it in, he says, contemplating retirement. I mean, he's more definite about this than Harrison Smith. This is the end of CJ Ham. I mean, talk me off the ledge here, but it feels like an iconic, dare I say, Klein Saucerian type Viking could be done, Luke Inman.
I think just on Spot Rec, he still's got one more year. Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Okay. Yeah. End of an era for CJ Ham. The local legend. I'm trying to think back. Who was the undrafted fullback that we snagged when CJ Ham was up and coming and this is the guy, but we really like this other fullback to come in and train.
Blasingame.
Kari Blasingame. Where's he at nowadays? Maybe if CJ Ham does retire, I think he's on the practice squad for the Eagles.
Decent career after the Vikings.
Yes,
got rid of him.
Yeah, I think he
was on the Titans.
Went to the
Bears
Titans and then
too.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like he's on the Philly practice squad. Maybe that would be a smooth transition. But yeah, CJ Ham, man, in an era that just doesn't include and involve the fullback that much. Obviously, that we know. Obviously, you got a couple studs. The Baltimore offense still uses the fullback. Obviously, Shanahan still uses the fullback. But outside of that, man, there's just not a lot of fullbacks in these offenses anymore. So to have the longevity and the impact that CJ Ham has had over a decade speaks quite a bit of volumes for sure.
His snap share, Arif, increased every year under Kevin O'Connell. Went from 14%, 19, 22, up to 27% this year. And I think I read that they're third in EPA per play out of 2-back sets. So there's still an impact being made. And very much like Harrison Smith, he's playing good football in perhaps his final season.
Yeah, I mean, he's already played a pretty important role in some games. He was able to bring in a third and short and a touchdown, I think, on fourth and goal, if I remember correctly. It's interesting because Kevin O'Connell has always tried to find ways to get him involved. I remember this was actually one of the first media versus Kevin O'Connell moments in his tenure. Was when Kevin O'Connell mentioned, right, that he was trying to find ways to get CJ Ham involved in a bunch of different ways. He even mentioned, Kyle Juszczyk, I think at some point he mentioned as a model. And in OTAs, I think it was before training camp, in OTAs, it was either Alec Lewis or Chad Graff. It's probably Chad Graff, now that I'm thinking about it. had mentioned that CJ Ham had lined up out wide, right? Like outside of the numbers. And Kevin O'Connell got really, for him, really upset. Not actually, mad. He didn't look like he was spitting angry. And he holds a meeting with the Vikings media members, which at the time I was covering them daily, so I was in this meeting. And he said, hey, if you see something kind of like unique like that, it would be better, maybe if you didn't, I can't tell you what to do, which is actually not true. You can. I can't tell you what to do. I don't want you to, it'd be better if you checked in with us about that, right? And maybe we could give you something to give you context for what that is. And it was very clear he thought that TJ Ham was going to be this super weapon that the Vikings beat was revealing too early, right? And this is before we had like this huge crackdown on like video from sideline or video from like the stands and stuff like that.
Yep.
It was somebody that he had valued a lot and couldn't find ways to get him involved in the offense. And like as you mentioned, over time he found ways to do it. But it just it feels like he's been kind of underutilized relative to what he was in the Zimmer era. And I think for some context for how significant it is, what Ham has been able to do for the Vikings between Kleinsasser and Ham, right? And I'm not necessarily with you that he's a Kleinsasserian level, but it's fine, right? Between Kleinsasser and Ham, so like you've had N'Fahu Tahi, you've had he's a Hall of Famer, or near Hall of Famer that was also for the chart. It doesn't matter. But you had N'Fahu Tahi, and then you had Jim Kleinsasser.
Tony Richardson?
And then Tony Richardson. Yeah.
Yeah.
You then have like you're going through like a bunch of people. So Jerome Felton, obviously, and then while you have Jerome Felton, you've got some people on the practice squad the entire time. Zach Line for a little bit, Ryan D'Imperio for a little bit. They tried out Blake Raynaud, that didn't work. They tried out Johnny Stanton, that didn't work. They just like went through a bunch of different guys. Kari Blasingame, like you mentioned. They went through a bunch of guys to try and see if they could get a fullback. And at one point, CJ Ham was the guy on the practice squad, which I think it was Zach Line, was the guy ahead of him that was actually on the roster. They just kept on going through fullback after fullback. They would have a fullback for maybe 2 years. Even like when Jerome Felton made the Pro Bowl, they replaced him, but I think it was Zach Line, right? And, you're going through like these Iowa tight ends that you've converted to fullback, these Vanderbilt tight ends that you've converted to fullback, this Nevada Las Vegas quarterback that I think you convert to fullback. And they just couldn't get a guy to stick until they get this guy from Augustana, right? Right?
He was in your backyard the whole time.
He's in your backyard the whole time, and he's playing fullback for you the whole time. I think it's really cool that they've been able to stick with him despite a culture or an ethic of constantly cycling through these fullbacks. Like, whether it was from like the Giants, which I think is where Blake Raynaud come from, whether it was a quarterback that you converted, whether it was a tight end you've converted, whether it was a true fullback that you brought in, a running back that you converted, like Zach Line. They brought in guy after guy after guy until they found TJ Ham, and they're like, we don't need to keep getting in new guys. This guy's got it.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Bad dad joke saying Ham catching a 30-yard wheel route was epic. I thought he was targeted. Now, maybe I'm forgetting. I remember a Baltimore wheel route to CJ Ham in a very key moment of the game that was incomplete. I can't remember him
catching
about
the at Baltimore game,
at
that shootout.
Baltimore. Yeah. Overtime loss.
I do also
2020.
I do also remember him catching like a pass underneath at like 8-yard depth and then converting it into like a 25, maybe 30-yard just with Yak because there's just no one around him. And I do remember that. That was on a play that was meant to go deep, and then he was just like he was alone, and Kirk Cousins was like, well, I mean, come on.
Kirk Cousins ain't going to turn down a check down. Are you kidding me?
Right, yeah.
Of course.
Family Feud. 7 answers on the board. 7 quarterbacks that completed passes to CJ Ham.
7 quarterbacks.
All right, Kirk Cousins.
Number 1 answer. 65 times.
Keenum.
Wow.
Keenum. Number 2 answer on the board.
Teddy.
Case Keenum. That's a strike. Teddy did not overlap with CJ.
JJ McCarthy, has he ever thrown a pass to?
Strike number 2. Other team,
That's
get ready to
sad.
steal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What? I'm gonna go with Joshua Dobbs.
Number 4 answer on the board. Josh Dobbs.
Okay.
We got 4 left.
Do we?
Yep.
Okay, Luke. Do you want to go with Sam Bradford, or is that
We do. No, we
are
do.
we a little? We do.
No,
All
I'm
right,
good
Sam
with that.
Bradford.
No, I'm sorry. That's your
Really?
third strike.
What?
There's another
was
another
so
very
confident when you
obvious
said that.
Sam. Another very
Oh,
obvious
Darnold.
Sam.
Oh my God, we missed
Uh,
Darnold. We missed
Come
Darnold.
on. Wentz?
Wentz. Yep. Two more.
Wait, so Wentz did, but McCarthy didn't?
No.
What are we doing here?
Rosemer?
Nope.
Man,
Rosemer.
I
Absolutely.
can't believe there's 7. Well, I'm digging deep in the barrel now.
Mullins? Nick Mullins?
Mullins.
Sure. Okay.
Mullins 2 times and one more.
Okay.
Toughest one.
Certainly not Jaron Hall. That would be absurd.
But about as likely. Like about as small of a sample size.
Who's the guy that Kellen Mond?
Nope.
What a great guess. What a great
Probably the
guess.
same season.
Same season as Kellen Mond. Who
Kellen
in the
Mond?
world? So we went through Mullins.
Oh, the Packer game. Kirk Cousins had COVID. The Packer game. They said, "Why don't you play Kellen Mond?" And
Jake
Zimmer's
Browning?
like,
No,
I mean, you
sorry.
got it. Inman's got it.
"Yeah, what's his
But
Yeah,
name?"
what? Who
Sage.
was it that game? Sage? That's not it. That can't be it.
No.
It's not Sage.
Sean
Went to
Mannion?
Oregon.
Sean
Yes,
Mannion.
Sean Mannion.
Thank you.
Sean.
Oregon State. The pride of Oregon State.
Oh,
Sean Mannion.
God. So many quarterbacks have thrown a pass for the Vikings in like the past 5 years.
That was harder than I
absurd.
thought
That
it
was
would be.
great. When you said 7,
But we missed Sam Darnold, so that part
missed
is
Sam
on us.
Darnold,
Like
that
that
was
we
dumb.
should have gotten
Yep.
that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, but not McCarthy, is very funny.
yeah. All right, let's do it again for real.
I've got more. I've got more trivia. The longest CJ Ham completion in his career.
33 yards. No idea.
Arif?
I'm gonna price is right, Luke Inman, and go 34 yards.
yards.
Diabolical. 36.
Correct
answer. That was the.
That's all right. I'm waiting for you. Got the watch up there? I'm waiting for the TV surround set. That's fine. Go ahead. Get on up there. Go ahead.
December 2019 in Seattle, early in probably part of the opening script. They got Ham loose for 36 somehow. I don't remember
They
how.
scripted one for him. That's
He's
great.
loose. Love it.
He also had, I think is it one? No, he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Do you remember those games?
I'm assuming
Okay.
it's a little play action at the goal line.
Okay. Do we think that includes?
We're both at the
36
Metrodome.
No.
Excuse me. We're both at home.
No. Hold on. Against the Jaguars in 2020, right? Like a 12-yarder.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, you're looking.
What do you mean I'm looking?
12 yards. You got 12 yards against Jackson.
Yeah, no, a little
Okay,
12-yarder.
I'm looking, but I
But-
couldn't get the 36-yarder. All right, Sam.
12. You got the exact yardage of the
His internet's
touchdown?
going out 1 second. He's nailing 2021 Jaguars on the road, 12-yard.
No, that game with the
pass.
that game with the overtime. Come on, you don't remember?
Yeah.
Well, what are you guys, idiots? You guys don't remember that specific play from 9 years ago? Come on.
That's insane.
All right, what's
One
the
more.
other
One more.
one? Well, just Arif, just tell
20
us what it is. You got it up.
2019.
What is it?
2019.
Screw you guys.
Lions game. 5-yard touchdown. I'm trying to remember where that was played, what the result. I think that was big Vikings win in Detroit, 42-30. Yeah, that's right. They scored a bunch of points in that game, and Ham got a 5-yarder from Kirky. He'll be missed.
All right.
I
Now
do
do the
remember
Matt
that one.
Asiata 3-touchdown game, week 17.
Which 3 touchdown game?
How many? Yeah, he had a few of those. Jahmyr Gibbs practically. We've got our final bets of the year, but it's going to take a weird shape. We'll explain the confusion coming up next. Welcome back, Viking Squad Show. The betting has been dramatic. We've had lead changes. We've had comebacks. And here's where we stand going into the final week. Arif Hasan, $479. Luke Braun, 193. Myself, I got back in the red, in the black, sorry. Now I'm back in the red. I lost both bets last week. I'm down to 809 in the negative. So I'm down by about 1,200 and change. Luke Braun's behind by about 300. Luke Inman, you're 14,000 out of it. You got to have a massive parlay. We have 2 bets
This would
left.
be hilarious.
It would be.
Swoops in, vultures it on the final day. The racehorses that lag back from the pack, they often have the closing speed.
I always say that.
That's why they're
the
lagging.
clouds.
When I go to the casino, I always say that.
Inman was just saving his energy, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Flip the switch. Let's start trying.
Pacing himself.
Yeah.
So 2 complexities. No Luke Braun. Second one, no props posted. So
Anywhere, by the way.
So you and Inman briefly discuss amongst yourselves how we're going to handle this. I will be back in 15 seconds. Go.
All right. We either go into this blind, not knowing, right, the odds, the lines, and we just say Xavier Scott, for example, which we talked about before the show, anytime touchdown. I'll obviously have to build a crazy parlay because I'm not just in last, but in dead last by a mile. Or we wait, which we've done before, till Sunday morning, and we bust out the
You're
group
bad
chat.
at waiting. I just want to point
I'm
that
not
out that you're uniquely
great.
bad at
I wouldn't
waiting.
say bad. I'm not great.
You've missed multiple deadlines when we've had to wait.
Listen, when you're 12 grand in the hole, you're sleeping in late. You're hitting the snooze.
Do you know why you're 12 grand in the hole? Part of it is because you have failed to turn in your bets, and that has put you further in the hole.
Legally, I don't agree with that.
Anyway, I do. So I think picking up like event type props like that, where we don't know the odds, like Xavier Scott didn't have a touchdown, but also like we need to just be comfortable, I think, with some of these alternate lines and just be like, hey, I think there's going to be an alternate line at 150, an alternate line at 200, an alternate line at 80, an alternate line at 60 for any of these receivers, and hope that they're going to be available, or we're going to check in the morning of, right, and see what's closest to the alternate line that we took, and grab that. I think that that's the best that we can do.
Inman, might I direct you to the scoring tab on FanDuel where you can pick the correct score with some pretty absurd odds? That might be of interest to you.
Yeah, for sure. I was already thinking something like Packers score less than 6 points or something like that. I'm going to have to get very creative for sure. So under the scoring tab, you will find me for sure into the wee hours of the night under the scoring tab. Yeah.
All right. So we will proceed and do the best we can. It sounds like Luke Braun will have to get his bets in, and he will not have access to what we've done. Arif, you are first. This is the order. This is big. I mean, the order is everything because the amount of the bet is going to influence how this goes. So, Arif, go ahead.
I could be doing like some Jeopardy math here, see what it would take for Luke Braun to catch up. Luke Braun to catch up. I could be doing all of that, right? I think Luke has a mid and a min, right, which complicates that math even further. I don't care. I'm just gonna be doing minimums. That's too much work. So minimum, Justin Jefferson over 53.5 receiving yards. Whatever is going to be the closest to that alternate line by the time it gets posted, obviously is going to be the one I take, so long as it gets him over 1,000 for the year.
So the quickly here. So we looked on Prize Picks and it was 60, I think 64. So are you saying you're taking an alternate receiving line, or you're predicting
yes,
that's
it would be if we can find an alternate receiving line as close as possible to getting him over 1,000. That's the one I want. So like we might find a 55 one the day of, and that'll be the one I would take.
It is allowable as long as it's not beyond minus 200. That's always been our rule.
Right.
So we will. So the first one inside of minus 200, we will give you.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Luke Inman, you get 2 cracks at this. What are you going to go with?
I get 2 cracks. All right. Let's go correct score. Never thought I'd say that today.
Jesus.
Let's go correct score, and I'm going to go Vikings 31, Packers 3 plus a lot.
Need the Have you looked at it? Like
What,
the actual.
Sam, I got 2 minimums left, right? What is the max minimum?
All
Just so I
right.
can plug
So
this in.
it's plus 10,000, first of all.
Correct.
Plus 10,000. The max minimum is $719.99. So we should probably make sure this gets you there, like so times $719.99.
It does. It wins me $71,000. So
okay, that'll get you there.
Yeah,
that'll
barely.
get you there.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right.
31-3. 31-3. Total blowout.
31-3. That is
And that
absolutely.
requires specifically that the 3 points be scored by the Packers and the 31 points be scored by the
Correct.
Vikings. It cannot be the other way around.
Yep. Total blowout.
Okay.
Clayton Tune. In for a
Now,
long day.
if it's the
for
other way
sure.
around, I am going to die of laughter.
Well, wait a minute. I got one more bet left.
Well, I go first. Yeah,
I'm hedging.
You do. I hope the next one's a scoregami. How good would that be? All right.
Yeah.
I think so. Arif's taking the tact that if he goes minimums and he goes 1 for 1 or 1 and 1, that forces Braun basically to go 2-0. And it also forces me to go 2-0.
Well, I mean, Braun has a mid and a medium, right? So if he maxes his mid, right, I think he can go 1-0 if I go 1 or 1-1 if I go 1-1.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Okay, a couple
This
variables.
Is a crazy betting setup that you've constructed, Sam.
It is.
If
Has
he
it added to
maxes
the
his
contest? Has it added to the contest? Rules that only we can understand. The viewers and listeners popping in are like they're just puzzled beyond belief. I have been kind of getting killed by having any kind of faith in the Vikings offensively, except for that Dallas game. Dallas game is when I hit my parlay because I believed in the Vikings offense and they came through for me. McCarthy could be playing. I am going to take I'm going to take the under on McCarthy passing attempts, which has been a pretty good wager. And actually, let me amend that. McCarthy completions, not attempts, completions. Under on McCarthy completions, we'll watch for that to pop up. And I will put the max min, that's $719.99. Would be my bet then again here. I'm going to come right back, and I'm going to take the Jalen Naylor over on yardage. I went with it last week. I got shut out, so I'm due. Jalen Naylor going to be part of the game plan. Over on yardage, max min. So back to Inman.
You guys are so funny. You guys watching you guys overthink all this. It's not that hard. Vikings 27, Packers 6. It's really not, you guys. 719 to win again, 71,900. I feel great. It took me till week 18, but I feel really good about this.
I'm rooting for you.
It's going to be a blowout. The under is so low that this is classic Vegas, that they're going to, bait people in taking the over because the over-under is so low. It's going to be very close to, what is it, 35.5? So it's going to be about 34. And I think it's just going to be a blowout. Vikings blowout.
Smart of you to target that over-under. That's wise. This guy knows what he's doing, folks. Arif.
Yeah, Inman is like... He's like a Pokemon that has to fight through paralysis and confusion to hit like a 30% fissure to get the one-hit knockout to win the round.
It's too real, man. It's too real. I hope your internet goes out.
I
think I won. Did I win?
I got a
who won the
one-hit
betting
knockout,
last year?
dude.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Go back to your corner. Who won it last year? Sam, did you win this? We've talked about this.
I think I did, didn't I?
It didn't matter.
I've won a couple times in the past. Not riding the Jaguars that year, but I just want to share the love and let somebody else win.
My goal has always been. I don't think I've ever won because my goal has always been to avoid the loss when losses matter, and we've never made it so that winning matters.
Correct.
Now I'm in prime position.
If a bear's chasing you, you just got to outrun the person who's slowest.
Exactly. That's how I've always been doing this, right? It's like, avoid the worst outcome, or it's just kind of wherever the prize is, you want to I want to kind of, the prize was to not lose, so I didn't lose, right? All right, so minimum. Clayton Tune passing yards, I assume, is going to be around 180, and I'm going to take the under on that. If it is under 150, I will probably change my bet, but I assume it'll be around 180 or something like that. Hopefully it's at 200 to make it a little bit easier for me, but I'm taking the under on the passing yardage all the way down to 180. And then we'll kind of see what that looks like when we get the odds, and then I might change my mind and take what's left. But that's kind of where I'm at, because I just think that Brian Flores is going to demolish this poor dude.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be Looney Tunes. Clayton Tune Looney Tunes.
You're a believer in Jefferson. You, like me, are concerned for Clayton Tune's well-being. That's where we started the show, and that's where we finish. Vikings-Packers, final game of the year, Sunday noon, CBS. Spiro Ditas on the call. Luke Inman on the postgame. Looking forward to that. I'm Sam Ekstrom. That's Arif Hasan. Check him out on Wide Left. Check out Luke Inman as well on the Locked On Wolves postcasts on the Locked On Wolves YouTube channel. He and Jack Borman do a fantastic job. Happy New Year, everyone, from all of us at the Vikings Squad Show and the #1 sports podcast network.